What's the number one thing you need to do if you are an engineer, a good engineer, but you want to move up the career ladder and become a project manager? Chances are you have the technical chops you need. You probably have the educational credentials. So what are you missing? It's the communication component. If you want to be a great project manager, you have to know how to communicate with teams of people. It could be someone in the cubicle next to you. It could be a handful of people in your town, but it could be dozens and dozens of people scattered throughout the globe, different countries, different cultures, different time zones. And if you think you can just be logical and rational and type in short sentences exactly what you want, and everyone's going to understand it and do it, you are sadly mistaken. You're going to get stuck in the realm of just being the engineer who can do the work assigned. If you want to be a project manager, you have to communicate with people on their terms. Typically, that's going to mean going to have to speak to them, whether it's on Zoom, whether it's Microsoft Teams or some other platform. You need to be able to speak to human beings. You need to clearly articulate what the goals are. You need to get feedback from your team. You need to really listen to them. Let them know you're hearing them, because if people on your team do not feel listened to, they're not going to do what you ask them to do. They're not going to listen to you as intently. So being a project manager does mean you have to have more elevated communication skills. It doesn't mean just being up on stage and walking around and telling people your grand vision. Now, you may have to do some of that, but it means really listening closely. Sometimes you're going to have to, get close, really look at people, whether it's face-to-face or online, and give them a sense of what it's about. You may occasionally be at some big conference where your whole team is there, and you do have to lay out a vision in a compelling way, in a confident way. But so often it's going to be you just talking to them one-on-one through Zoom, small group meetings on Zoom, and you've got to learn the skill of communication. If you want to be more successful, then improve your communication skills. The best way to do that? Smash the subscribe button right now. First of all, you need to simplify the key goals you're trying to accomplish. You need to listen to your team to figure out what ideas do they have that can help you all complete this project and do it in the most efficient way, at the highest quality way. You've got to work with them to come up with a strategy, and you've got to nail down the exact tactics and be clear about it. It's virtually impossible to over-communicate as a project manager. The biggest problem with most teams around the world is they don't really know what in the world they're supposed to do. There's this ambiguity. And in the project manager's mind, well, it's perfectly clear. I said it once 3.5 weeks ago. I sent it in a memo. It's clearly all laid out in paragraph 3 of that strategy memo I sent a month ago. That's just not how the human memory works. It's not how human brains process information. If you want your team consistently marching in the same direction, advancing goals, you have to communicate on a regular basis, ideally on a daily basis. You're going to have to repeat yourself. And you're also going to have to really listen on a daily basis, because it may be your team has done exactly what you said you wanted them to do, and there's a problem that you didn't foresee. If you take the attitude of, I'm the boss, I'm the project manager, do as I say, you're not going to be very successful. So the line of communication always has to be open between everyone on your team and you. And you have to be communicating with them constantly. Now, many people had a tough childhood, and maybe their parents did nothing but criticize, and they figured, well, that's why I'm successful. The one time I got an A-, my parents yelled and screamed at me, and I learned right then I have to work hard and always get an A. Okay, so maybe that worked for your childhood. Guess what? That is not going to work in the workplace. You get a collection of individuals working in different places. And if you think you can communicate constantly just by pointing out flaws, just by pointing out mistakes, you are sadly mistaken. The vast majority of your communication with your team when you are managing a project needs to be giving positive reinforcement. Let them know what they are doing well so they do more of it. Let other individuals who haven't started on the project see how you're noting when people do well and you give praise. It motivates people, it excites people, and it gives them an incentive to do more. More important, your team has actually created something that moved the bar, that actually helped the final project, help clients, or the entire organization. You need to give positive reinforcement for that. You can't overly be positive with people on your team. How often have you said to yourself, wow, I hated the way my old boss or my old project manager gave me specific praise for the job I did? I bet you don't think that at all. So give praise. I don't mean butter people up and give them excessive flattery. I mean, give them highly specific feedback on what they are doing well and why it has a positive impact on your mission and your project. If you want to be a great project manager, that's what you have to do, because you're now being judged not simply on the basis of the code you write. You're being judged on how you are managing an entire team of people. Now, your team might be 2 people, but it might be 20, it might be 200. You've got to figure out how to get into the brains of these other people, not to control them, but to make sure they understand exactly what the project is. They've got to understand what your vision is. Your vision has to incorporate the insights and the intelligence of every single person on your team, and you can't do that unless you become a master communicator. So make no mistake about it. The technical skills that you earned in school and that you worked on at the beginning of your career got you to where you are. They're not going to take you to the next level. If you want to be a successful project manager and then a successful senior executive and perhaps one day even CEO, you have to become a master communicator.